Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing really well. I hope you're having an amazing Sunday and you are, of course, always getting some good reading in. I'm coming today to do for you a two-part series. As you know, it's the holiday season and a lot of us have some travel that's coming up. And so I'm going to be doing two videos where I focus on books for your traveling needs. Now, today's video focuses on that short trip home. So all of these books are 200 pages or below in length, and they're for sort of those 1 hour, 1.5 hour trips on a plane or actually in a car, if that is how you're going to be getting home for the holidays. So we might as well get started. And we're going to start, they're just in alphabetical order, but they're all amazing books. The first book I'm going to remind you about and recommend is a short story collection called Whatever Happened to Interracial Love, stories by Kathleen Collins. Now, Kathleen Collins, unfortunately, is no longer with us, and this is her only published collection of works, and this is an amazing short story collection. I want to say this was my favorite short story collection that I read last year. This is a book and a collection that tackles race from many different angles. I always struggle a little bit to how to define short story collections, but here's what I will say. Every story is worth reading. Her language is beautiful. Her themes and ideas are poignant and timely, even though this was written, a lot of it was written in the 70s. It has a very present day vibe to it. I think she is a brilliant writer, and I'm sad that there's not more from her to read. So if you're looking for a short story collection to get you on that short flight home, I highly recommend Whatever Happened to Interracial Love, stories by Kathleen Collins. The next book I'm going to tell you about is a book in translation, and that is Hunting Party by Agnes Desarthe, and this is translated by Chrisitiana Hills. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Unnamed Press, and this is out from them. Now, this is sort of like a fable. This is about a man and his wife who moved to a tiny town in France, and while they are there, he is invited on a hunting trip. And his wife sort of encourages him to go because they have struggled to fit into the community. And the problem is he's not much of a hunter, and he's not one who really wants to actually kill anything. And what he does is he takes a shot and he wounds a rabbit. And then this sort of metaphysical, philosophical conversation goes on between him and the rabbit that is sitting in the bag that he is carrying. A huge storm comes along, some intrigue between relationships. The dynamics of the men that he is on the trip with become sort of, I'm going to use the word scandalous, but it is just a really thought-provoking, yet also page-turning read where you'll just be sort of flying through this book in that short trip home. So that's The Hunting Party by Agnes Desarthe, translated from the French by Christiana Hills, and the final version has an introduction by Jessie Chaffee, who you guys know that I absolutely love. So yeah, this is a very, very good book. Okay. The next book I'm going to tell you about, now remember, I am a guy who likes a dark read, so some of these are a little bit darker than others. I'm going to be recommending Praise Song for the Butterflies by Bernice McFadden. This book came out this year. This is a short little book that packs a powerful punch. This is the story of a bebe. She lives with her father and her mother and her younger brother, and they're pretty affluent. And I want to say it's in Ghana, yes. This occurs in Ghana. Now, she lives in this house, and they're sort of protected from the world, and something happens, and the luck of the family changes. And her father is convinced to sort of donate. I'm using the word donate here because I think it has sort of connotations that fit well with the narrative. Donate his daughter to this religious cult in an attempt to placate the gods and change his family's luck. So two stories then occur. We sort of see what happens to the family after this event occurs, and then we also see what happens to her in this religious cult. And it is horrifying, you guys. But what Bernice does really well is she lets you know that this stuff is going on, but she never puts it on the page, which so much makes it worse, because in your head it can always be worse than what you're reading at times. But this is a book about a woman who perseveres through this awful trauma. It also is about her family and what that means, how she became part of it. It's very good. It's very interesting. Again, it's also a page turner, so you will fly through this book. It's not more than 200 pages. It's 240 pages, so it's super short, but it definitely will not leave you wanting anything. You may sit on the plane after you've already parked to try to finish those last few pages. So this is Praise Song for the Butterflies. This is by Bernice L. McFadden. Definitely worth the read. Let's say you want a little bit of a memoir. You're looking for a memoir to take on your trip. I'm going to recommend Hourglass, Time, Memory, and Marriage by Dani Shapiro. This is Dani's, I want to say this is her third or fourth. I may be wrong. I don't remember exactly how many books she has out. I know she has quite a few. And this is exactly as it says. This is her memoir that discusses her marriage. It also discusses time in a lot of ways. She has some really poetic, powerful language. And she just has a way of sort of making you reevaluate relationships, marriage, time, all those sort of themes. And it's a book that you will just definitely be able to connect with, and you'll just feel like you're there with her as she has a conversation with you. Dani Shapiro just has a way of making you feel at home. So this is Hourglass, Time, Memory, Marriage by Dani Shapiro. Okay, two last little offerings up here is if you want to go for something a little bit more noir, I'm recommending struggling with words today. Basic Black with Pearls by Helen Weinzweig. This has an introduction by Sarah Weinman, who I think is an amazing writer. This is the story of a woman and a man who have this sort of ongoing affair. And the man supposedly works for something called the agency. And she's a housewife, and she meets him randomly all over the world. And she sort of wears this certain outfit, and that's how he recognizes her and how they sort of get together clandestinely. Then one day he doesn't show, and they wind up back in Toronto. I want to say Toronto. Where she is from. And as she is waiting for him, she starts to evaluate and recognize instances in people from her current life and her past. It's got that feel to it. I think you guys will fly through this book. And if you like a bit of mystery, I'm recommending Basic Black with Pearls by Helen Weinzweig. And that cover, New York Review of Books, they can do a book. Let's say you're looking for something a little bit science fiction. I am going to be recommending the first in the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells, and that's All Systems Red. I'm going to read the back of this one to you just because, I always struggle with concise science fiction renderings. It says, in a corporate-dominated spacefaring future, planetary missions must be approved and supplied by the company. Exploratory teams are accompanied by company-supplied security androids for their own safety. But in a society where contracts are awarded to the lowest bidder, safety isn't a primary concern. On a distant planet, a team of scientists are conducting surface tests, shadowed by their company-supplied droid, a self-aware sec unit that has hacked its own governor module and refers to itself, though never out loud, as Murderbot. Scornful of humans, all it really wants is to be left alone long enough to figure out who it is. But when a neighboring mission goes dark, it's up to the scientists and their Murderbot to get to the truth. I want to say that I heard a review of this on Jean over at Jean Bookish Thoughts channel, and she raved about it. So if you need a second opinion, go over to her. But if you're looking for a quick sci-fi read for your trip home, Margaret Wells, the first in the Murderbot Diaries, All Systems Red. So I hope that's a good little list for that short trip home, and that you guys maybe pick up one or two of them, because you got to come home too, right? Or ask for some of them in your holiday packaging, and you get some to read on the way home. As always, if you're a return subscriber, I thank you so much. If you're new to my channel, I hope these travel reads find their way into your suitcases, backpacks, or however you're getting home. And as always, until next time, I wish you happy reading, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!